We're actually about to go out to a guest that actually won a football game their last time out.
Actually, it's got a good
we are
record,
now
too.
joined by Calvert Hall football coach Donald Davis. Coach, how you doing on this Saturday morning?
Oh, I'm doing great, man.
And I'm sure
Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. And I'm sure it helps coming off a win last night. You guys had lost the previous week after a dramatic win against Gilman, a dramatic comeback win. You guys had dropped your first game of the year against Georgetown Prep. How nice was it for you to get back on track last night?
Oh, it's always good to get back on track, to get the kids back excited and winning. Anytime you lose a game, it's difficult to go back to practice the next week because the kids just want to play. They want to get back on the field and get an opportunity to get in the win column and to compete. So keeping them focused on just the goal during the course of the week, to play better, to continue to get better as a team, and then to go out and execute is made a little more difficult when the kids have that antsy feeling after a loss.
Now, Coach, you had a big challenge because when you were brought in 2007, Calvert Hall, it's a program with a rich tradition, but it had fallen on hard times. And before you had gotten there, I want to say 3 of the previous 4 seasons had been losing seasons, 4 straight where Calvert Hall had failed to finish above 500. What kind of challenge was it for you when you took over back in 2007?
Well, one of the difficulties is changing the culture with not only the kids in the program, but the perception outside of the program. Because there were kids that were there that were working hard and a staff that was working hard previous to my coming in. It's just a matter of getting people on the outside excited about the program again. Because when you struggle, and again, they did struggle, but they lost a lot of close games. People don't necessarily always see that. They don't necessarily always see the work. They just see wins and losses. So to come in and really change the culture around the program was probably the most difficult thing I had to do when I first came into the job.
And how did the opportunity come about for you?
Well, everything is controlled by God. From my standpoint, I was blessed to have an opportunity at Cardinal Gibbons. Was hired when I was 24, coached my first varsity football game as a head coach at 25 years old. We were able to really put together some nice stuff while I was there. Great staff, great kids, and great support from my administration there. We won 30 games in 4 seasons, which I guess put me in a position to maybe seek an opportunity like a Calvert Hall.
Hey, Coach, Bill West here. Since you brought up Cardinal Gibbons, how is the impact with getting players, and because everything is private school, and I was really hard involved in trying to save Cardinal Gibbons to keep them in the program this year, and save that school. How hard has it been for you with all the transfers and like different players being moved around in the economy to try to keep good players in the private school sector? To, when schools shut down and they move, there's like juniors and seniors that, get lost that are good players because of maybe economics or the school closing. How does that impact you at Calvert Hall?
Well, it's first of all, I have great affinity for Cardinal Gibbons. Again, they gave me my first opportunity, and I love the place. The 7 years I spent there were just outstanding. Relationships I built with people on the faculty and the students that I taught and the student athletes that I coached, I'll never forget. I had 2 of my players were in my wedding, so it was a great place to be, and it's difficult to see some of the things happen just to Cardinal Gibbons, but some of the elementary and middle schools having to close because of the economic climate. It's a difficult thing. And I know it's hard on the kids. For a kid to go, especially some of the kids this year that left Gibbons and the kids last year that had to leave Towson Catholic, to go 3 full years committing yourself to a school and its mission, and then be told you can't come back for your senior year has got to just be an awful experience for a kid to have to do. And then to move and transition in 1 year, make friends, acclimate yourself academically. For kids that have to make sports teams or bands or auditions, they don't have that previous background with whether it's a director or a coach where they can say, okay, I know the body of work of this kid. Those kids have to come in with a clean slate and make something happen in 1 year. That's a really, really difficult thing. So my heart goes out to everybody that's been affected by those things. As far as Calvert Hall, the school is healthy, and we're in great shape. But even then, we've lost some kids over the last couple of years where family says, hey, we just can't afford Calvert Hall. We're going to have to leave. So, I mean, you definitely see the economic impact on both ends, really.
Yeah, and Coach, it's very difficult on the parents, too, because you may have a great senior, like coming, use Gibbons, for example, because that was the more impact. You have a starting quarterback or a kid on the soccer team or whatever, and he's All-American, and he goes to another school, but Calvert Hall's got a starting quarterback that's All-American. This kid may get lost in a rough and may not play football again. So it's not the impact on the school closing is in the community, but you may never see these players again.
Well, one of the things I did when I talked to a lot of the kids, again, I have great relationships with folks that were still at Gibbons at the time, and pretty much every student that I could get in touch with or that came through our school to shadow, I talked to them about finding the right opportunity and not just going to a place to be there for a year. I talk to guys about asking the right questions because it is a little bit different than some sets of circumstances where a kid's just going to a school where he's going to have to make his way, but he's got 4 years to make it and so forth. Some of those guys that had 1 year, I talked to a Luke Stidham, for instance, who's doing a tremendous job over at Curley about finding the right opportunity as a quarterback, getting in the right place where he's going to have a great chance to both finish the great education he was getting at Gibbons and at the same time compete on the field.
And
not to go a place where they've got 3 or 4 or 5 quarterbacks warehoused. Go somewhere where you think you've got a fighting chance to either win the quarterback job or at least have an opportunity, whether it's a receiver, defensive back, or something where you're going to make a major contribution.
How are we going to do in the Turkey Bowl, Coach, this year?
Oh, man, that's what everybody asks. I'll be honest with you. Our staff is always preparing because we always know Loyola's coming down the pipe. But right now, I have my full attention on McDonough. They've got my undivided attention right now. Dom D'Amico's doing a tremendous job at McDonough, and they've put together some nice wins, getting a few there in the last couple weeks. I know they hit a bump in the road 2 weeks ago, but they've won a couple big games this year, and getting one against St. Joe last week. They got a big one against Prep today. We just have to make sure we're ready to play against McDonough. And if we're ready to play there and we continue to get better, some of those other things will take care of themselves.
Coach, do you have a guy that you can say that's one of your seniors right now that 3-4 years from now he will make the NFL?
You never know that. That's just a really, really difficult thing to project because of so many things can happen in college. And let's be honest. I mean, college coaches could look at one of their guys and say, hey, my guy's a finalist for the Heisman Trophy. I certainly believe he's going to be an NFL player a year from now. And then a year later, the kid's a 6th-round draft pick, and he struggles to make it through rookie minicamp. So it's so difficult to project. But, I mean, we have a few kids who I believe are going to be collegiate football players, Adrian Amos being one who's committed to UConn, who's going to play safety up there. He's a kid who's really been outstanding for us, both on defense and offense this year. I thought he really played as good as he was capable of playing against Gilman, and we needed it on that particular night.
Can he play corner, Coach?
He can play corner and safety.
Good.
And Matt Zenitz, Bill West with you on this Saturday morning, joined right now by Calvert Hall football coach Donald Davis. And, Coach, what have you done to get that program back on track so quickly, though? Because the last 2 years, 18 wins. And like I said, for the previous 5 years before that had been losing seasons, 5 straight years where Calvert Hall had finished or failed to finish above 500, 16 wins the last 2 years. What have you done to get them back on track so quickly?
Well, one of the things is it is difficult to win. It is easy to lose, but it is difficult to win. One of the things our kids committed to from the day we got there was working hard. One of our mottos is to work hard, work fast, work smart, and work together. So you play hard, you play fast, you play smart, you play together. And so that's been one of the things we've really instilled in the kids right from the beginning. And it's been a lot of hours and a lot of hard work, both from my staff and from my players to put us in the position we're in. I'm really blessed to have both sets, to have the men that coach the positions and coordinators for me, and to have the kids who are making those blocks and making those catches and making big tackles. I'm really, really blessed beyond belief to have the people around me I had.